supported by Commissioner Christenberry, to accept the agenda as presented. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. The minutes of the August 27th meeting. I believe we do have a correction.
I'd like to suggest a motion for correction, motion to correct the wording on motion 2013-212, so approved the August 27th, 2013 Board of Commissioners minutes.
Second motion. I have a motion in support. For those of you who are in the audience, the word abolition was used, and it should have been abolished. That's the only change to that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Did that motion include approval of the minutes? Or was that just to change the wording of that motion?
Well,
No, I didn't understand it to approve the minutes as presented. You only made a
it did
motion
say
to.
as presented. Did you say that word? It's just
Said
to correct.
motion to
Yeah.
correct the word.
To correct the wording on motion 2012.
I think we're all in agreement.
So approve the August.
Okay.
With the correction.
That includes. Public comments regarding today's agenda? Any public comments regarding today's agenda? Sandy?
It's not the agenda, but I have to leave early. So we had our meeting of the youth group last night. We've got tentative bylaws. We've got our board. We're in alignment with the scouts. So things are moving ahead. So I just talked to Brenda before, and I will get with you, Jack, and Bob at a different time soon, because we would like to get up and running by the first part of October sometime.
Very good.
So we have a few questions, but I'm not going to take up the time now.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
That's an exciting thing, folks. We're looking forward to that. Getting up and running and going. We'll do whatever we can to work with this. Thank you. Any other? Order of business. Mr. David Beck.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I mailed my report in advance, so you had a chance to look at it. That should have been distributed. Thank you. I want to get the fiscal business out of the way first, and in that letter it included our continued request for funding in accordance with the law. Each year we are required to get a contribution for each of the counties we serve. It is required by law as being 10% of our budget. Fortunately, back in the late 90s, the county commissioners of the 3 counties allowed us to form into an authority, which locked that amount in at the 1998 rate, which was $147,553, which is far from 10% of our budget. Actually, it's less than 1% of our budget at this point. The Oscoda County share is developed based on the 2010 census. We redo that every 10 years. It's set for 10 years based off the 2010 census. At that time, Oscoda County was 15.336% of the entire population of the 3-county area, which makes the county's contribution $22,674. That amount is stable for the next 8 more years, or a 10-year period. It's the only thing in your budget that won't go up for 10 years unless the state changes the law. And that $147,000 is the only thing that hasn't changed in my budget in 10 years. And actually now coming closer to 25 years. So it's a good move on everybody's point, because that's a fixed state of money. What does that mean to you? That last year I reported that $147,553 brought back about $110 to the county for every dollar spent. Because it changes our Medicaid formula and program expansions that I've reported to you, it now means that we bring back $118 for every dollar contributed, which is a pretty significant return on investment. Most of that money, over 80% of it is spent locally within the three-county area on salaries, benefits, groceries we buy, rents we pay, including rent we pay to Oscoda County for the old library building. So it's a good investment. It's a good return on investments to the counties. We served over 2,500 people last year, which is pretty much an average number for us. And we did over 700 emergency service contacts across the three-county area. We have staff on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We respond to law enforcement, hospitals, or just straight calls in from community members. And so we do that on a pretty regular basis. We continue to provide services and expand services that are very much needed in the community. But you must understand that we are primarily a Medicaid-funded organization. The state contracts require us to work with three primary populations: adults with developmental disabilities, children with emotional disturbance, and adults with serious mental illness. That makes us not truly a full-fledged community mental health center because our funding is for specialty population services. Some changes are in the offing, though, and I think they're positive changes. With the Affordable Care Act, whether you like it or not, politically supported or not, it is the law of the land, and it's something we, as a government agency, are required to respond to. That means that starting January 1, there will be more people insured in the state of Michigan. Some under the health insurance exchange that's formulated by the federal government. People are able to buy insurance. That insurance must carry mental health coverage. As of April 1, because of the expansion of Medicaid, then more individuals will be covered by Medicaid in the state of Michigan. Our estimates based on DHS provided numbers suggest that between 7,000 and 10,000 more people will have Medicaid insurance coverage in the three-county area. Yeah, wow. And we are in contract negotiations with the Medicaid health plans to become members of their provider panels so we can provide that service locally. There will be other providers, but we're looking at doing that. We have to make decisions on how to fund that and ramp that up because we cannot use any state general fund dollars to help supplement the cost of those health plan services. So it's a complex negotiation to get the right service fees so we can do that. We have accountants and attorneys involved in that process, along with people from the state with us to see that we can do that. We're going to attempt to ramp those services up so we can get those services locally through our offices. We continue to provide youth co-occurring treatment. That's a simultaneous treatment. We usually have an emotional disturbance and a substance abuse problem. That's a service that has been pointed out to us was needed. We established that. We're right now serving about 24 children at a time through that program in the three-county area. There are Oscoda County children being served in that. We're looking for ways to ramp that up to be able to serve 30 to 36 children that require additional staff. Right now, because our general fund dollar amount has not changed positively since 1996, and in fact, it's been reduced. We, a couple years ago, took a $200,000 reduction in general fund. We are slated to take another general fund reduction this coming fiscal year, although we don't have our numbers yet. It's a Medicaid-only program, and so we're trying to make sure we can find ways to secure the Medicaid dollars through our funding source to extend that program. We'd like to take it up to a 36-child program, but it really depends when we pull down more Medicaid dollars. Those Medicaid dollars require a match. This year the match is 9%, so we have to find a place to get the match. Harder to find the match than to find the Medicaid dollars. So we're working on that. We provide extensive use of services through evidence-based practice. Those are research practices. We've extended those over the past year. We'll continue to extend those. Those are important to the area, important to the people we serve. This year we've had a lot of emphasis on infrastructure changes to prepare ourselves for the expanded services. As you know, we've leased space here in town. We've leased space in Oscoda, the city. We've leased space in West Branch. We've expanded our space in West Branch, and we're trying to get ready to meet the ongoing needs of our program, which keep growing, and meet the demand of ACA as it comes forward. The biggest expenses have been backroom functions, the things behind the scenes. The expectation starting in 2014 was that our computers would be able to talk to everybody else's computers in the health system. Well, somebody figured out that that's not going to happen. So the alternative to that is what they call a health information exchange, which is basically creating a central location where our records go in and everybody else's records go in, and then with proper permissions, they can be drawn back out for the needed information that needs to be exchanged or used by other providers. That itself is not a simple thing. We've written a grant, have a consultant come in and work with us over the next year to help develop those locally to match into what the hospitals and other health providers are doing. That grant was funded, and we're working on 3 other mental health boards to achieve that. The cost of these programs is very high. For example, one encryption system that we have to meet HIPAA regulations for health exchange costs us $60,000 a year. We had to add that this year. And to do that, we had to upgrade a $20,000 server to be able to handle that. And in addition to that, we have to add another encryption service that will probably cost us between $20,000 and $25,000 a year ongoing expense to have that. All this without anybody giving us more money to do it, but setting the requirement in front of us. So you're familiar with that they have requirements that donate funding. So we've been working on a lot of those backroom functions to get ready for this, a lot of additional expense. So it has challenges a little bit to make all that work and get ready, but we're getting there. We did, as part of getting ready for that, just contract with M33 Access to bring fiber to our mile office, which then should help allow other people along that highway corridor to be able to have reasonable access to fiber. So we just signed that agreement and wrote a sizable check and a 10-year agreement to have that service in place, which helps them fund installation. The biggest news probably, though, isn't so much to do with what we're doing locally, but how our funding is going to be provided. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, the state decided that it needed smaller government. And the governor decided we'd have fewer mental health boards. And they started down that path, and there was a great outcry from the community going, don't mess with our mental health boards. So the state changed focus and said, okay, instead of having 18 funding organizations in the state, PIHPs, prepaid inpatient health plans, they were going to reduce that number to 10. And so with executive direction, they simply said there will be 10 PIHPs, which then forced us into an area, instead of being a 13-county PHP, Medicaid funding organization, we are going to create a wholly new organization that covers 21 counties. And simply, to look at it, draw a line across the state of N55, and everything north of that is in that 21 county area. We now have Traverse City and Manistee-Benzie in our area. But it's a whole new administrative structure. Instead of that being owned by one board that made all the decisions and dictated to us as affiliates, now each board, each mental health board, is a member/owner of that new PIHP. So now we have a 1/20th stake in the ownership of that, which is really good. And Oscoda County's Joe Stone, who's the chairman of our board of directors at the Mental Health Center, is also the chairman of the board of directors of the new Northern Michigan regional entity, which is very positive, because it means our 3 counties are at the table as leadership position representative out of our 3 counties, helping run that new organization. What I'm most excited about with that is that it will change the funding formula used to fund services in this area. Our 3 counties, which have historically been underfunded, will now have a greater chance to be equitably funded going forward. This is very, very good news. So, for example, with the state's reorganization and reapplication to the feds for a new program, counties, for example, like Oakland, who get a factor, if you look at every dollar we get if they're even factor funding across the state is a factor of 1. We get about 0.98%, not quite 1. And Oakland County, who's very impoverished, sometimes people have to use leased cars instead of buying Mercedes, BMWs, because they're so poor down there. They get a factor of 1.6. Now, why do they need more money in Oakland County to run a mental health center than we do up here? I don't know. It should be equal funding. These boards are going to be moving, according to the federal government, towards equitable funding. So as Oakland County comes down, as the poor people in Traverse City who have a funding factor of 1.3 get adjusted down, ours will get adjusted up to be a more equitable rate, which means we'll be able to provide more services in the area, which is only reasonable. There's no reason people who live in Oscoda County, Ogama County, or Iosco County deserve anything less than the distribution of those Medicaid funds. So having Joe at the helm of the new organization is very positive. I'm very pleased to have him there, and you should be pleased to have him there. That new NMRE, Northern Michigan Regional Entity, it's not a fancy name, but it's a backroom function. They do the books, they pass the money out. They're also going to take over the substance abuse operations and the management of those. So NEMSES, which has been the substance abuse providing agency in the 30-county area, will now be incorporated into the new NMRE, and that's a result of Gillespie bills that were passed by the legislature last fall. They will be, by the end of the fiscal year in 2013, will be fully incorporated into the new NMRE. There will be an advisory board that helps direct those services that will have a representation from each county in the area served, just like we do now on the NEMSES board. That's required in the Gillespie bill. And you'll be getting more information about that as you go forward. We keep Mark informed of that as best we can. Joe's on the committee's obstruction though, so you'll be aware of that. And so we've been spending a lot of time creating this new entity because it's a new set of bylaws, it's a new set of operating agreements, it's new staffing, it's creating a new home for that to operate from, and operating rules, and then it's making all decisions on how we're going to fund programs and those things. So it's taken quite a bit of our time in the past year to help with the formation of that. I think it's time well spent, and I think it will benefit our three-county area by improving the funding available in the area to meet the needs of people with developmental disabilities, chronic mental illness, and serious emotional disturbance. So it's been a very busy year, very productive. I think we're moving forward at a nice pace, and I appreciate the support we get from the county. I appreciate the support we get from law enforcement. It's a good relationship with Kevin, and I think it helps us quite a bit. So thank you very much. Any questions?
You've given us a lot of information in a very short period of time. One thing I will say is you people talk in acronyms and you confuse me. But I want to compliment you on the job that you're doing, the work that you have done in the past. And I do see it as a positive that Joe is in both leadership positions. I think that is a positive for Oscoda County. I can only hope and offer you any assistance that we can do to help your situation short of additional funding.
We understand that and appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Joe is very knowledgeable. He's been 14 years now
At least 14 years on our board, yes.
on their board. So, yeah, he is very knowledgeable about this. It helps out quite a bit.
And by the way, Mark has a full, up-to-date list of acronyms. It's probably
does he?
4 or 5 years. So if you can't sleep at night, I'm sure you make a copy of much stuff.
Well, he doesn't like to share.
I understand.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and best of luck to you and all for our support.
Jay, on that, when you said there was 30 substance abuse, was it programs or counties?
30 counties on the list.
Is that going to be cut down to the 21?
Yes, because 9 of those counties go to other regional entities, go to the south. And so it'll just be a 21 county area covered. So there'll be 21 boards of commissioners and 21 counties be able to appoint a member to that board. But it'll just be 21 counties because of the reorganization. 9 of those slots for the south.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dave.
One order of business I did not take care of. You may have noticed that our clerk, Register of Deeds, Sherry Winton, is not here today. And the reason is she's at a conference and is unable to attend and has been excused from this meeting. Okay, moving right along. A NEMCOG. Rick Newell, could you do the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry you were expecting Diane today, you got something from me. She has a meeting conflict, so she asked me to attend. I think you all have a copy of the letter. The amendment to the solid waste plan was processed, sent to Lansing, and they wanted to have some wording changes. It doesn't change the amendment or what is proposed to be done, but it just puts the wording in a fashion that they're content with. So what we're asking is that the county board approve this letter and then transmit it to the state showing these recommended modifications.
Okay, Rick, as I understand the situation, the DEQ has requested us to add, subtract some verbiage.
Right. Doesn't change what was proposed, it's just they wanted the
And
wording.
this is in our plan of work for the landfill.
Yes.
What was changed?
Didn't do the process. There was some wording like, I think the way add Advantis renewable energy, that wasn't in there. Because I think initially some of it was, Diane proceeded based on the feedback she was getting from the state. And then when it got done, other people looked at it and said, geez, we'd like some wording changes.
After it was all done, they made changes.
They wanted some wording changes, yeah.
Under extra stuff there.
Yeah, so this has in here, make changes on page 10, 34, and 106.
Yeah.
So what you need from us, Rick, is a motion to sign this letter
Yes.
and forward it to is this going to go to Diane, or is this going
Well,
to
it's
them,
addressed
Doc, or-
it's addressed to Christina Miller, with DEQ. So I would think you could, I guess Diane didn't tell me, but I think you could send them one and then Pat copy us, send us a carbon copy.
Actually, that is asking me to send.
Oh, okay.
And
You
then
guys
she'll
are way ahead of me.
accumulate all three counties
Okay.
and forward it in one package. All right?
Okay.
Then I'll entertain a motion to, you want to rescind your motion first? No?
This is just a
No, this is just a letter to authorize the changes in verbiage. All right.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the chief financial.
we're at a wrong one. This one right there.
It's not written out.
Highlighted for them.
Oh, that's just a motion to send the letter to the issue. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
I found it.
Make a motion to send the letter to the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, for the approval of the Montmorency Oscoda solid waste plan with modifications as requested. And allow the chair, Jack Kishnick, to sign this letter.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Back to Gaylord.
Actually, I'm gonna hang around here and then over to Harrisville, so it's a road day.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Mr. Mike Strader, Regional Manager, Municipal Employees Retirement System, better known as MERS.
There you go. Another acronym for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
how would you like me to proceed? I know that there was some...
Carefully.
Carefully? Okay.
Don't confuse us anymore,
I will try not to. Basically, what I thought I would do is just give a highlight of the annual actuarial valuation that we do every year that determines the upcoming fiscal year's contribution rates for the county to the retirement plan. Basically, what we do is every year we take a snapshot of everything that happens in the county as far as employees that are hired, employees that terminate, employees that are retired, wage increases, wage changes, anything along those lines, investment returns, along with other assumptions, give it to the actuaries, and they do a calculation, tells us how well funded the plan is, what the contribution rates are for each individual division, or union or non-union employee, and that contribution rate is done for that upcoming fiscal year. So this is the 2012 actuarial valuation. So it takes a snapshot of all of 2012. It comes out in May or June of 2013, and it gives you your rates that begin in January of 2014. Overall, so I'm picking up a couple different wireless signals here. Overall, the funded level of the retirement plan is about 69% funded. So it's not terrible. It's a little bit lower than what the average is in the system of 800-ish municipalities that participate. That's found on page 6 of 22 of your actuarial valuation. And then if you were to flip to page 8, it breaks down what the contribution rates are going to be for each individual division that's here in the county beginning January 1st of 2014. I'm not going to go through each individual one, you have it all right there. But I know that one thing I think there were some questions on maybe is the blended rate and maybe how to proceed with a couple of divisions, one that's really overfunded, and just kind of talk about that and what might be some options for you guys.
Before you go on, Mike, I'd like to ask, did you receive a copy of this letter dated 1/25/11?
Is that the blended rate
That's the
letter?
one that talks about the blended rate.
Being billed at, I think, 31%.
31.2%.
Yeah, until further notice?
Right.
Yes.
Now, has that been done? Is
Yeah,
there an accounting situation here that hasn't been followed through?
No, I don't think so, because that's done on our end. So that was sent in, and I was in our finance department yesterday after Brenda had sent me that email of those letters. And that's still in our system. It's not reflected in the new format of the actuarial valuation, which is why we just see the separate contribution rates for Division 10 and Division 11. But we are continuing to bill both of those divisions at 31.2%. That's the way that we will do that until further notice. When we average these out, actually you're still paying a little bit more than what would be required. Our finance department said the actual blended rate, or it's really kind of an averaging to make it simple, is roughly around 27%. So you're still paying more than what's actually required, which is a good thing. I mean, you're helping to pay down some of the unfunded liabilities.
If it was a blended rate, and this is the problem we have, one is underfunded, one is overfunded.
Right.
Why wasn't it, maybe, and I don't know, but why wasn't one in that blended being put more into the underfunded one than the overfunded one?
Basically, when we blend the rates, it comes up with one contribution rate, and it's applied to both of those divisions. Equally, correct.
Regardless of the number of payroll dollars.
Correct. Which, for Division 10, you had a shrinking payroll in that division. And in Division 11, it's when there's new hires, they're going into that division. Most of the unfunded liability, or the shortfall, is tied to Division 10. Right now, your Division 11 is like 170% funded, 179% funded. So you're throwing extra money into it when there's already a nice big surplus there. It might be, it might be time to take a look at unblending those and taking whatever that surplus is that's going into Division 11 and put it over into Division 10 to help with the underfunding in that division.
Bring that up to
Yeah.
a proper funding.
To help to get it there, yeah. Right now, Division 11, if it was exactly 100% funded, the cost would be about 7.73%. You're paying 31%, so it's an additional 24%. The thought, as we talked in our meeting last time, the thought would be unblend those, continue to pay that 7.73% so you're not utilizing that overage on a credit that gets applied back, and just apply that 24% to Division 10 as a percentage of that payroll.
To bring that up to a funding
Yeah,
level.
because then you're basically paying exactly the minimum required contribution for those active employees in Division 11, and you're using that extra money instead of continuously making it even more funded. You can put it to maybe better use in that underfunded division.
Now, is that, what you would need is a letter from us to unfund
Yeah, all you would need to let us know
the
is,
blended rate?
yeah, just something simple that says, we want to be billed, we don't blend Division 10 and Division 11 rates anymore. Bill us the normal cost for Division 11, and then we'll just bill you whatever the actuarial valuation says for
Normal
Division.
being the 773?
Correct. Yep. Then you could just have us bill you the contribution rate for Division 10, and you can just make extra contributions as you want in a flat dollar amount. Because that's one thing that will change when you unblend these two divisions. And that might be maybe some of the reason for blending them to begin with, is to keep it as a percentage of payroll. When the division doesn't have new hires going into it anymore, because that payroll is shrinking, we can't take a percentage of the payroll anymore, because as people leave, we're going to start taking a percentage of a much smaller number, and not enough money is going to go into the plan to cover the cost. So we would bill it as a flat dollar amount instead of a percentage of payroll for Division 10. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay.
I mean, why did they blend it in the first place?
I don't know. I don't think I was part of those discussions. It's something that we gave municipalities an option to do.
I mean, what was the advantage of it? I mean, because it wasn't
My
funding
thought- yeah,
the
most-
underfunded.
Most of the time, the reason that it gets done is because people want to deal in percentages of payrolls, not flat dollar amounts. That could have been the case then.
But it isn't going to affect the bottom line.
Not really.
I mean, it's the same amount we owe.
It's just
gonna
how are
shift
we, yeah, which pots are we putting it into?
It's a distribution system.
Correct.
Okay. And we can designate X number of dollars to go into
Yeah, what we
any
would,
fund we want?
yeah, what we would do is we would bill that 7.73% for Division 11 starting January of 2014. And that's when you would want this to be effective.
Right.
Then, instead of billing the 31% for Division 10 as well, if you look underneath where it says the estimated monthly contributions, it's the bottom half of that rectangle. It breaks everything down into estimated dollars. The dollar amount that's listed for Division 10 is what we would bill the county for Division 10.
Well, that's at 7.73?
No, that's
That's
Division
11.
10.
7.73.
7.73 is what we would bill the county for
For 11.
Division 11. That's correct.
Like 14,274.
Yeah, and then whatever, that extra 24% that was being billed to Division 11, you could back into what a dollar amount is, and then just make extra payments into Division 10 if you wanted to. Or divide it by 12 and say, add this on top of that, and bill us this. You could do it either way.
Like what, like 12?
That extra 24%, the difference between the 31% and the 7 point.
Well, that's where we came up with the $6,800.
Yes, correct. Yeah, you could just tell us to bill you an additional $6,800, or you could just send it in on your own, whether it's monthly, annually, however you wanted to do it.
Now, does Jerry take care of that bill, or do you?
Jerry gets it.
Okay. should be able to break down that percentage, or what she should be.
So you no longer would be paying 10% on Division 10?
Correct.
It'd be a
Flat
flat
rate
dollar.
there.
Correct. Yep. And that's, I don't recall, I don't think I was part of the discussions then.
Actually, back in 2008, this 8, 9 area, I think it was, our auditor, our treasurer, our clerk, yourself, all of you guys had a meeting of some
I'm
sort.
trying to remember, yeah. And I know it was an option that was given.
I do not know myself exactly why it was done, but.
The only thing that I can think of is that people like to deal in percentages of
But what
payroll.
worked then doesn't necessarily
That's
work
correct.
now.
Right.
So that's what I guess you need to look at is what needs to work now.
Yeah, that division, that other division wasn't overfunded at the time either, I don't
That
believe.
could be the difference right there.
Now it's well overfunded, so it might make more sense to take that extra money that was going into Division 11 and put it into 10 to kind of basically pay extra on it. And
Do we have to?
you don't have to, no. If you want to chip away at some of the unfunded liability, you could do it. Yeah, it's not required.
So technically, we could reduce our monthly payments by that amount if we wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
because
we don't want to.
yeah, because Division 11 is so overfunded, that overage, that surplus that's there, we kind of finance it or amortize it as a credit back to the county to offset the cost. So technically, in January 1 of 2014, there's not an annual required contribution because the plan is so overfunded that surplus, and given a credit back to the county, is taking care of the minimum required contribution. If you can make that 7.73%, I would say it's better to do that because you're not eating away at that surplus at that point in time.
Well, my recommendation would be that we keep the maintenance of the fund.
Correct.
at
Yeah, that's
7.7.
which is what we discussed at our meeting last time. Yeah.
And I think that's the wise way to go.
Yep.
And any overage of the 24% that we were talking about,
Goes
then
into 10.
apply that as a cash payment or a cash distribution to the
Division 10.
Division 10 program.
Yeah, it'll help in the long run. It'll help offset any other future potential increases because you're putting more money into that plan now.
And 10 is slowly going away.
Yes, there's no more new hires that go into that division. And they're all going into, all the non-union employees are going into that Division 11 now.
Mike, would that, the 24%, which is the difference between, would we add also the 10.68%, which is the maintenance of that fund as well?
No, you'd look at that dollar amount below. That like
14,000.
yeah, it would go on top of that 14,000.
Oh, okay.
Because
And
it'd
I
be
would
billed
agree
as a
with that.
flat dollar amount, and that's the flat dollar amount that we would use for January 2014.
Okay, I agree with that then.
Yeah.
As long as we're not just doing.
You're not doing just the minimum. No,
Just
you'd be
the
doing
minimum,
extra.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need board action on this, do we? Isn't this just an accounting procedure that we need to
Or
straighten
would
out?
we have to send a letter that
You-
we're unblending?
You would want to eventually do board action to at least notify them, officially notify them to unblend.
Probably
The
stay
two.
there.
10 and 11.
Yeah.
And, yeah, state our intentions.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we can
We can do that at the next meeting if we want, and just make sure everybody's on the same page
Well,
on it.
we need to sit down with
Yeah.
the clerk.
Yeah, and I could,
Make sure we're
whatever
all-
language you guys, from our meeting today and our meeting a couple of weeks ago, come up with that language, and you can send it to me and I can review it and make sure that, okay, yes, we're covering all the things that we need to be addressing, and maybe even work a little bit, we can maybe back into some numbers together and see, does this make sense for you guys? Is this what you want to do as far as that extra amount goes? And then build it all into that way.
Yeah, it was pretty hastily done at the meeting we had.
Yeah, we're
A few weeks, or last week. Bob, Larry, any other questions you have? Lee? Okay. I think I'm clear on it, Mike.
okay, good.
Until later.
You think being clear is a lot better than knowing that you're not, so that's good, I guess.
Well, let's put it this way. I have a question.
You're gonna call me?
I know your phone.
There you go. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good
Appreciate
afternoon.
Thanks,
There
Mike.
you go.
Thank you.
Okay, next item of business is the Neighborhood Watch Committee. Ian Ellsworth.
Sure, briefly, I'll start out this Ian Ellsworth from the Neighborhood Watch. They have been very instrumental in trying to help myself, the county, and everybody else get on board with the ordinance. Obviously, it was passed back in 2007 as far as the signage. So Ian is here representing the Neighborhood Watch, and I'm going to kind of ask for a little bit of funding possibly to see if we can get some more signs or otherwise. So I'll give you that ordinance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically what we did is we formed the Neighborhood Watch for Oscoda County a year and a half ago. And as sent out people to just keep an eye on your neighbors, what's going on, see if something had happened in your neighborhood, because nobody knows your neighborhood better than you do. You know when your neighbors come up for the weekend and when they're not supposed to be there and what have you. We call the sheriff's department if we see something that's out of the ordinary. Part of our travels of what we've seen, because we have people in Luzerne, Fairview, Mile, just about all areas of the county we travel with people from Luzerne area, Moon Lake. I take care of a lot of Mile and around our neighborhood, Bob. And what we were noticing is that there was a lot of these 911 signs that are not up. And Kevin had brought to our attention that there is an ordinance that was passed in 2007.
2007, yeah.
And they had a thing in the paper about you could pick those up at the ambulance barn. Well, I guess that program wasn't working the greatest. A lot of people weren't going in. And since we were out driving the neighborhood to start with, we found that, you know, who better to deliver these where they're not at than us, because we know where they're missing from. So we got the remaining ones that they had from the ambulance barn, which was, it was a little bit better than 50. I know it was south side of 100 of them. Well, we went through those pretty fast. And now we're out, and we're starting a list of folks that want them when they come back in. We had put a notice in the paper about it that you get a hold of us. Also, we would be out riding around. We may come knock on your door, let you know that we have a sign for you. We would help the elderly even put them up if needed. So what we ran across, though, is we ran out quite quickly. And we were going to ask the board if they could help out and buy some more of the 911 signs. I believe they were 14-inch. If I'm correct, I believe the board bought some a year and a half ago. And they had stored them at the ambulance barn to give out. And that's where we got the remainders, what they had.
I think they've come up with a couple different, I think they bought them twice so far. They bought them when they originally did it, and then those lasted for quite a period of time. They had a lot of, basically where you came in, signed up for the program, then they worked with the fire departments and different agencies to go ahead and help put them out. And then I believe that they purchased some more again, and then I believe that at that point Casey, the ambulance director then, had said that they could stay over there. Again, I think it was getting people to come in and get them. Our theory with these guys is basically they're out and about. They're volunteering their time. Everything that they're doing is a benefit to our community. Not only are they getting signs out there, but you know they've been instrumental in at least 2 cases that we put together to be able to get somebody arrested on a violation that they've committed while they were out and about. So they've been a very good program, and there's a good core group that's kind of running it, and I would trust them to make sure that they're getting them out there. I think Penny is also keeping a list of the ones that they are.
We do keep a log sheet.
That was one of the things that they were asked from before, and so I think they've got some quotes from the different local entities to go ahead and see if they can go ahead and try to get a little bit of funding for some of that to be able to fund that. I think before that they do it through the civic project or something like that, I think is what some of the money that was used there, so just throw that out there. So.
I have a question.
I'll find you a pot and pull it out of
No, I have a question for Bill. How many parcels are there out in the county?
Roughly 14,000.
14,000.
And I think we're doing a good job of it. When we're handing out the addresses now, we're getting them out there. The word is getting out. We're having people contact us saying, I think some of it is they still don't know what they're supposed to be putting up. So I think the fact that we have the signs, have the green 911 signs, a lot of them think you have to get them from the county or you have to get them from somebody else as far as a road commission. Well, I don't think they realize you can go to any hardware store basically or big box store of any sort and get them. So we're trying to make sure that when we're giving them the address, we're giving them county part of the ordinance. Also in our letter that we're sending with the new address, and it will help also. Before they used to go through consumers. Consumers are getting out of the addressing, so it's putting more burden back onto us. And when we do that, with the form letter that we're sending, when they do, we're stating in there that you have to have these signs. And I'm sending a copy of the ordinance along with that, so they understand what needs to be put up then. So,
Just out driving yesterday, out through, because I stopped at a couple of the Amish stores too, to give them, actually we did 5 different businesses in the county. And just going around the Kettle Road, Perry Creek entity there, I'd seen seven places without them. And as we know, if an emergency comes up where you need fire, police, well, fire's kind of a little bit easier to find when the house is on fire. But ambulance or police or something to that nature, I mean, every second counts. And, if they got to drive up and down, and we all know there's cabins that are off the road, it more or less looks like a 2-track, well, it's actually a drive-in, or a driveway.
And it is a 2-track.
And it is a 2-track, yeah. But, if they can't find you, that's vital seconds,
My
minutes.
question on this is, I know for a fact, Council on Aging back in around 2001, 2002 gave out 119 signs. And with this total, I'm seeing about 600 or 700 signs we gave out. Why is it our responsibility to get signs for these people? I mean, we gave out enough, I would assume, for the people who couldn't afford $10 to buy 4 numbers or 5 numbers. But nobody buys my mailbox post. Nobody buys my numbers for my mailbox that are required by law. So why are we buying signs for everybody in the county?
here's my thought on that is the ordinance itself is written up to where there has to be a lot of different notifications before there's enforcement on there. I guess it's my thought is if I can get some of the volunteer agencies to go ahead and help get them out through, with the county's assistance, it's probably saving us money because there has to be letters that have to be sent out, there has to be personal notifications that I would have to literally assign staff to go to every single residence that does not have it. You have to give them 2 forms of notification. And I believe, not looking at it in the last little while, one of them has to be almost like a certified mail type of deal. So I guess there's a lot of time and energy that's got to go into the actual enforcement. So any amount that I can save by having a volunteer group go out and try to, get them back into compliance is helpful for the county also.
Well, I understand that part, Kevin, but I don't understand why somebody that could afford one, is waiting on us to provide one. I can understand somebody who's on, public assistance or something and wants their house taken care of, but a person who has...
That was the way I think it was originally set up, is that, they had to be on there was a criteria of some sort, and then they found out that it's probably going to be easier just to go ahead and have somebody come in. If they're willing to come in and sign up for the program, then we'll get them to sign.
So how much did these signs cost?
Well, like I say, I went to 5 different businesses, and we were anywhere from $8 1/4 on the low side per sign to $12.50 on the high side.
So say 10, average.
But Luzerne Hardware was
$140,000 we're going to put out to cover 911 signs. I mean, without saying who's got them.
I think you got a majority that have them now, and I don't think we address vacant land, do we, until it gets approved? I don't think we address vacant land until it gets approved.
No.
So you got to figure probably a good 40%, 50% of our properties are vacant land.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my understanding. It'd be a residence or, a cabin of some sort where somebody is occupied.
Would you also need posts or anything?
Basically, they use your mailboxes. That's what I look for. a lot
I
is
think
the
they got
mailboxes.
rid of, when they were doing the ORV bit, they got rid of the signs that they had already purchased when they were anticipating the ORV coming in, and they were gonna put up signs for that. They were originally, when we looked at, rather than open up the whole county, they were gonna open up certain areas, so the county bought into anticipation that that was what they were gonna do. They bought a whole bunch of posts. So they donated them to have them put out with fire departments, things like that. But they ran out of those fairly quickly. I don't know how many.
And the
Right.
signs, you know,
Right.
each fire department still has maybe under 10. I mean, but we're using them to get out on fire or ambulance call, we try to get them up.
I think they're working with them just to get the signs out there and saying, you know, we either help you put them up or make sure you put them up in your mailbox or somewhere out near the roadway. I have seen an increase since they've been able to do this, and it's like anything else. The more publicity you get for it, the more Thomas writes more stuff in the paper on it, things like that. Every time it seems like you see an increase. And like I say, I just as soon not write citations, but it's going to come a time when we need to. But there is a lot of work that needs to go into the way that the current ordinance is worded. So like I say, any month that we can avoid doing that, I would like
Well, we're
to do
gonna,
it.
you know, I think we got a committee looking into the ordinances that we have, that, you know,
Might be a
seem
good
to
one to
fall
look
by
at.
the wayside.
Right.
But everybody I have talked to personally, they come up with some sort of post, be it the mailbox post or, you know, the T-post that people use for fencing. You know, somebody usually has one of those behind their barn or garage, tucked away in there somewhere. That works great. As long as we can keep them up high enough to where the snow doesn't cover them up in the winter. So, but like I say, you know, I have a scanner at home. There's numerous calls you hear. We get a lot of the ambulance personnel, and they're from out of county. Well, they have a hard time finding some of these addresses, or if it's even a driveway.
I have trouble finding a lot of
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, and so it is an issue, you know, and, you know, I wouldn't want to be the one that's got to go find somebody, and I'm 2-3 minutes late because I've been driving up and down the road when a sign could have negated that whole problem.
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the Neighborhood Watch program. I think it's a very good program, and I think you're doing a good job. I do want to ask Kevin a question. We passed the 911 millage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Oh.
there
No,
It's not
a grant?
grant.
the 911
The money that comes in,
is on the
Right, for
phone.
911.
okay.
Everybody does that.
Right,
Phone.
right, it's attached to your phone bill, right, whether it be
Can this
landline or
not be
otherwise.
part of, can not the funding come out of that 911?
I would probably have to check on that. Obviously, I don't want to spend money out of there that
No,
we're
you don't
not
want to spend money. but
allowed
you
to
do
do
want.
that. No, that we're not allowed to do that, but most certainly I could, so I can check with the state
It is a
911 committee.
911 supportive program.
Sure. Right.
And what I would like.
If it is, I would have no problem with that.
I would like to investigate that a little further if we could.
I would have no issues with that.
Not that we won't, if we find out that this is not possible.
Sure.
Not that we wouldn't, I wouldn't ask this board to go ahead and support your program and buy additional signs. Because I do feel that it is necessary. I know it is a tremendous help to our sheriff's department and to our ambulance service. And I know for a fact, I've used trying to find people, it's come in very handy. And it's very frustrating to go up and down the road and not be able to find an address. And if you've ever been up and down Milky Way out in Greenwood Township, it depends on if you turn left or right as to what the numbers are and how they go up or down. And it's helpful to have 911 signs out there, or the green signs.
And that's another thing that I look at is, all right, when are we gonna start, you know, enforcing the ordinance? You know, if some of these people don't wanna be known,
I agree with that.
you know?
That's a true
And,
statement.
you know, we'll give them the sign, where does it go?
Right.
You know, downstate to their kids or something, I don't know. But eventually, we are gonna have to start enforcing the ordinance, otherwise it's worthless. You know, we're throwing a lot of money out. Not a tremendous amount.
But there'll be a lot of
and
staffing, right?
it does, like Jack said, it does serve a purpose,
Right.
but
I'd like to go back. What was your request today of us?
Well, we would like the board to free up some monies possibly to buy some of these signs. Like I say, we did check prices and, you know, what they can, you know, if you all could help us with this, this would be great.
Where did this 825 and 12?
That was at Luzerne Hardware. They were at 8 1/4 per sign.
And you're saying you would buy these from the hardware rather than have them, than to go to the source that they go to?
I believe they went through the Luzerne Hardware.
That's how they did it last time, and I think they just kept it local is what they did.
Tried to keep the
It would
business.
be up to this board on whether or not they would want to try to branch out to see if there's a different way of funding.
How many signs were we looking at?
We checked prices at 100 plus. I never got the number from Casey, of course he's not there now, of how many they actually picked up last time.
The original first go around, we ordered 5,000. The last one was 2,500. And again, these places have been selling them at their cost from the wholesaler. Like Luzerne Hardware is not making any money. I mean, in other words, they were helping us by.
Dave and Marlene were.
Yes, they ordered them, and it was their cost now. So they've been doing it, trying to help the citizens.
They ordered that many last time?
The original was 5,000, and I think we spent $5,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
It
think
was
it was.
$5,000 versus 2,500.
I don't think we got 7,500 signs out there.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking
that makes
around
more sense.
700 or so.
Yeah.
Well, 100 signs, I'm looking at $825.
Right.
I guess if you were going to be getting it, I guess I'd like to look into a higher number just so they made sure that we weren't having to do this all the time once we find out where we might be able to secure whatever funding. And I'm more than willing to look into the 911
I'm getting
issue.
a little confused here because I look at, in 2010, we approved $4,220 for 911 signs and flags. In 2012, we approved another $3,512.50.
When was that again?
911 sign.
That was the amount.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm not sure. I wasn't part of when they were buying them at that
If it's
point.
wrong,
There.
you can blame Brenda.
There we go. There we go.
I found those from the.
It's all Brenda's fault. That's fine.
So
So we had 2012, we had.
There's your $5,000 right
Yes.
there.
Okay.
Dwayne. So I don't really have an idea how many signs that was. I'm guessing 250?
250 to 500, and that was the numbers that I remember.
Well, 300.
I think the original flyers were, we were making up these, as a matter of fact, and I think they got printing on these. We made up a flyer to try to hand out at different events and things like that, and I'm sure that was probably, you know, a couple, $200-300 or so, because we had, I think of those, we probably had about, how many ever is in a ream? I think we had probably about 5,000 of these that we were handing out and distributing, and we continue to do that. So, and that's why I was getting with these folks to be able to go ahead and when they're out and about, even if they don't have a sign and they're not going to be able to get one right then, to make sure that they're giving these out. So I've been working with them to try to help distribute those. So I think some of that money from the original one that says flyers, that's what they were talking about, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Right.
And I would like to see if we could to get something going possibly within the month so that when bow season and rifle season pops up to where we're out and about, because then you're going to have the different class of folks that are up, some hunters in their cabins and what have you, you know, because there's sometimes you go by a cabin and there'll be nobody there because it's exactly what it is, a hunting cabin, and then the ones in the summer. So we had good success this summer doing it, but we ran out of signs pretty quickly. So I think if it was done in the fall and possibly at the start of summer, when you're out and about, you're going to catch the majority of the folks. A lot of the folks that already live here year-round have them. There are a small percentage that doesn't. And those ones that I talked to didn't know about the ordinance, didn't know anything about it at all. But once we spent some time talking with them, right on board with it. Until it comes a part of, we'll buy one. But if we're gonna give it, they're like, hey, no problem, we'll go along with it.
As long as it's free.
Yeah. And we help put it up if we have to.
Right. Well, I know your people are doing a good job. I've run into 2 or 3 of them out in the field, working with people, showing them where to put them, showing them, and basically giving them the signs, so.
Yeah.
Again, I do support your program. Kevin, my question to you is, how soon could you get an answer to whether or not?
I'll try to check with the state on the 911 to make sure that that's an allowable fund, and not a problem, I can get an answer back to you. Yeah, I'm not sure how quickly they'll get back, but hopefully by the first of the week anyway, so.
I was thinking noon.
Yeah. Let me call them, I have their number here already, so yeah, so.
Well, you know, this is our county, you know, but I would like to see it statewide, but until that comes about, you know, we're just kinda, I would think that they're probably not addressing that part.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but they should be able to tell me what the allowable costs are for the 911, and that's what I'll address, so.
You know, and we're not talking a great deal.
No, I mean, even if we go with 250, you know, we're, what are we gonna be, right around?
1,600?
Yeah, you know, between 15 to 2,000 probably,
2,000.
somewhere in there, right, so, somewhere in that general area, so yeah, I agree.
If we do go that route, and if it does go that way, I think we ought to at least throw bids out to the local hardwares if they know they're gonna.
That's what I think that they had
This is
done.
what he's done.
We've got a list of them right here, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like,
And we can leave a copy of that if you'd like to with Brenda, so. He's got, Luzerne Hardware, Maya Hardware, Fairview Hardware, Pioneer General, and Highland Lumber.
Yeah.
And that's your range from $825 to $1,250, looks like the highest. And I think that was the thought process for trying to keep it local, and again, I think that, you know, the majority of them stayed to where they weren't making much money, if any, on the sign, just to try to help out with the program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I say we just wait till what Kevin says.
Okay, for the allowable cost or otherwise?
We will make, we'll give you an answer on the meeting the 24th.
24th? Okay.
And do you want, do you have an extra one of those, or you want me to just stick around and give them a copy of that one then?
Yeah, this is all I have here, but,
Okay.
you know, we can always make copies.
All right, if you're gonna be leaving, I can save that till afterwards and get it back to you after, later on.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, so I'll just take that one. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no old business today, under new business, well, we have no new business. Financial, EMS irregular contingent wage scale and increases. Do you have a presentation, Jason?
I don't, but I can kind of read, I guess.
Good.
You guys should have with you the list of recommendations for the normalization of pay scale in general. How we ran into is over the past several years, people were hired at different rates, so we had newer people being hired at considerably higher rates, such as $12.24 an hour. And people have been with us since 2001, where we paid $10.74 an hour. What I attempted to do with that list that I submitted to you was to actually normalize that to the best of our abilities, what we had there. And that's the first part of it. So the second part was to make a recommendation for a set pay scale from September 8th present from September 8th on. Then I'll kind of give us again normalization across the board. So I guess my question for you would be, what questions do you have for me?
Are these, I see the current wages. Are they gonna go to the starting wages, or are some of these different because of their longevity with the ambulance department?
Longevity is weighed into it considerably. At any rate, the rate was brought up to the minimal amount that new hires were hired in at. So for example, our lowest paid one, I believe, was like 10 something an hour, and she's about $12.24 an hour, if she's been here since 2009.
are these three classifications down below.
Mhm.
The 1174, the 1320, these are just this is what you want to pay them.
This is what I want to pay our new hires coming in as of September 8th.
Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong, is that all over the starting wage? The union classification?
Define starting wage, I guess.
Maybe you don't have what I have. I just have effective 1/1/2013, the start wage.
Okay, this changes that and updates it accordingly, so anybody hired from this date on will get paid that rate. So that does.
They would get hired the start rate of the union.
No,
No.
no. The September 8th wages are set to be, they're increased from what they had before, but not as high as the minimum, as high as the union starting rate, with the exception of specialists, which went up. And the reason it went up is specialists are now allowed in the next 2 months, they're going to get their own drug boxes and be allowed to have more responsibility, which allows us to put them in primary roles where we couldn't do that before. Wage increases are no more than 25%, which is in line with everything else. The difference is they were divided 12.5% among each level of licensure. So our EMTs are set at 1174. 12.5% above that would be 1371 at the specialist rate, and the next rate above that would be 12.5% above that for paramedic.
All right. For one, the paramedic on this one, you want to increase the wage, and I'm not going to name names, but to 1537.
Yes, I believe she's been there since 2003 or 2001 or 2003 is why. Which would put her just above a first year starting level union wage at paramedic. The reason being is the longevity of it. In fact, it's been on such a long period of time since.
Now these 8 people, are they kind of regular or?
Pretty consistently, yes.
Like consistently more than 500 a year, 500 hours a year, or are they more quarter time, or?
I couldn't give that answer, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's one on there that's actually got an asterisk by it. The reason it has that is that that particular individual doesn't have, she's licensed as a paramedic, but she's not practicing as a paramedic at this time. Once she gets to that level, when she's cleared to work on her own, then her paramedic rate will go to what it's supposed to be, what's listed on the sheet.
Okay.
The rest of them, with the exception of one, pick up overtime regularly, or pick up time regularly. There was one that was before, but isn't right now. And there's another one on that's also the forestry service firefighter who's on deployment right now, so he's not picking anything up right now. But when he goes back in the wintertime, he will pick up quite regularly.
Okay. I see your 3 basics, they're in line. I mean, what I see in line with the start. Mm-hmm. And then the 2 specialists are a little more than the start, and that's because of the longevity, you say?
Yes.
And the other 2 are a little more too.
Which are also for the longevity.
I guess the question I have is, because they're non-union and they're irregular, should they get more than the starting wage?
The basics do not. The basic set rate was below the union standard. The only rate that's higher than the start rate for paramedic for a union level employee is the specialist level. The specialist level, again, the reason why is because their responsibility is increasing, their ability to increase. Since the union negotiations last year, their responsibility has increased substantially. In the next, like I said, the next 2 months, they're going to be getting their own set drug boxes to use inside the truck, where they'll be able to be used as a primary role, as opposed to before they're only secondary, like an EMT would be. Because it's responsibility, I have no problem giving them a raise for it. Because I can actually utilize them in a primary role on board a truck, so I can staff them as a specialist off the truck instead of a paramedic, if I need to. When we negotiated last year, like I said, that wasn't an option because there wasn't a thought process at the time. Since then, they've had considered more education, they've had to train to upgrade to the level. So.
questions? Are we prepared to move forward on this? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to honor the wage increase for the non-union irregular EMT and EMT employees as listed effective September 8, 2013, and so amended budget, ambulance budget 210 budget.
Do I hear a second? I will second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christianberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Grantner?
You can't come back to me, huh? Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kishner?
Yes. The second motion?
Second motion would be, is this for, as far as for the new standard pay or for the light pack?
No, we're not to the life pack yet.
Okay. The second motion would be in case for the set rate, salary from September 8th forward for new hires then.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion. To implement a new start wage scale effective September 8, 2013, non-union irregular EMT specialists and paramedic employees.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Can I discuss?
I'm sorry? Yes.
Okay, this is where, this is for irregular, non-union, right?
Correct.
This is where you're gonna be starting more than the union people.
Only intermediate or the specialist level should be.
The specialist one. But what about the basic too?
Basic start rate for union is 1224, this should be 1174.
Okay, all right.
And so intermediate or correction, old school thinking. Specialist level is the only one that doesn't, is the only one that doesn't comply.
And again, this is because they have more training, they need more training?
They're required, the state of Michigan tried to eliminate the specialist level, and then when they work that out, they end up increasing the specialist level responsibilities by giving first line drugs to treat with. Because of that, they had to have several hundred hours, or another 100 hours worth of training, give or take, and they're allowed to do a lot more things than they used to be able to do. With that in mind, they have to get extended training, the fact that they're not going to be in a primary role, and the fact that we will be able to actually have the boxes on board for them to work off of, with our reasoning behind that. If you look at the percentages, like I said, the last union increases were 25%. It gave 2% between the basic and intermediate or specialist level, and then 23% to specialist paramedic. With this, it's the exact same percentage. It's just 12.5% in each level increase. So basic started at 1174, then 12.5% to specialist level, then 12.5% to paramedic. All of which are still underneath the union pay scale except for specialist.
Well, there's where I have the problem with it, because I'm regular.
And I can understand that. But I said that before, when negotiations happened last year for the union, this was a non-existent level. The specialist level existed, but the level they're working at with the education, with the increase in responsibilities, wasn't there yet. This will keep that in line with that and allow us to treat them as primary responders.
And that will be addressed at union negotiations coming up.
Or in the form of agreements.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to take it, but put that back down to 1249 and then address it at the negotiations.
I agree with Mark. My concern process is that the union itself, when the union, well, actually, I can see your point. We can do it that way, we can try and do it that way. My recommendation is, because this is not union, it's not a union that it should be negotiated with, it should just be.
Well, I just see agreements coming down the line, even if it was 3 months, before we get a new contract, or if they stay as is. I just have this feeling of problems in the air.
Okay.
I mean, we can amend it. keep the other two, because they're within line.
Or Mr. Garner can withdraw his motion and restate the motion with the addition, with the change in the one wage rate.
Would that be acceptable, Jason? I mean,
Yeah. Not recommended, but acceptable.
What's the rate again now?
I think it's
$12.49.
$12.49 for the EMT
That would be for
specialist.
the EMT specialist.
And that's just actually, that's just starting a new wage scale for you, correct?
Correct.
Now, the wage increases that you've given the folks to $13.20, they've been here a while, have they
Correct.
not? So
Yeah.
we would be okay in that area.
In that area would be fine.
Then I'll second Bob's motion if he makes it. Or did he make it?
No, he hasn't rescinded his original.
Okay.
You want me to rescind it?
Yeah.
Right,
Just-
withdraw
Or withdraw it?
Or amend
And
it.
then just amend it, or whatever?
and
Yeah,
restate it.
to $12.49.
Okay.
And then
I'll restate.
We need Lee to withdraw her second.
Okay.
I withdraw mine also.
Okay. Let's start with.
Okay, now make a motion to implement a start new wage scale effective September 8th, 2013 for non-union, irregular EMT specialist, and paramedic employees, and your EMT specialist, paramedic, FTO candidates, minimum wage. Starting EMT basic $11.74, EMT specialist $12.49, and EMT paramedic $14.86.
Now we need a second.
I'll second.
Oh, you did second.
I was waiting for
You
me.
seconded before the.
I was waiting for me.
You said you were gonna say.
Roll call.
Commissioner Christian
Yes.
Commissioner Grantner,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kishner,
Yes,
Commissioner Warren.
motion passed. Thank you, Jason.
Might as well stay there.
Now, we do have an invoice request for purchase of a refurbished LifePak 12 with AC power cable for $8,590. This monitor will allow us to have a backup monitor. Would you like to go further on it?
Absolutely. At the present time, we have 3 cardiac monitors available to us. The problem we have, and the problem we have been facing since it came here, is we've had, on both LifePak 15 monitors, we've had recalls or defects on them. When we have to ship them out, it takes several weeks to get it back. During that time, we have no backup monitor for here in Miles, so if my second crew comes in to be able to call, there's nobody else available. We have presently 1 in Greenfield, 1 in Mile, and then the third one when it's here for backups. Because of that, it's a high risk not to have it available, especially when we have the resources available to utilize it. That's its primary function. The second function would be essentially to enable us to throw on any truck available when we need to put a forklift truck out. But my primary thought with this is because we can actually do it and the equipment's compatible, the cables are compatible, the electrodes are compatible, and because we're getting the AC power cable, we can charge it within the trucks. It's a cheaper route to go this route than looking to get another monitor for one, and for two, it allows us to have the backup available. With this equipment in mind, it includes the batteries, we're able to charge them off the trucks, so there's no additional expenses. That's just what you see is what we got. The price itself is pretty incredible, by the way. The base model itself is $75.90, and the power cord itself is more expensive. It's I think $500 or so, but that allows us to charge right there in the truck, and it saves us a lot of money in general. So
One question I got, is this the company we got the portable laptops and rigs now, is that the same company?
No.
we're furnishing?
no, this is the boundary. Formerly PMI.
I know the other ones work good, but I don't know how this company is.
LifePak 15 had a lot of issues beforehand. We did find out we had a recall on the cables. We had to ship 2 of our monitors out on different occasions because they were showing faulty readings or they weren't working appropriately, and kind of found out they had a recall on the monitor on that cable itself. So that's gotten taken care of. But this new monitor will give us a set reliable backup to work with. So the price is very reasonable.
That other company didn't have these monitors?
No, not anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a limit that Jason has to have for a motion on buying equipment? I mean, he is a supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Is there, what is the limit?
I think it's in the
1,500.
I thought it was 1,500.
1,500? Right. 1,500.
board would just increase that too, I'd be okay with it.
That's why he's here.
No.
Worth a shot.
Well, I'd make the motion to authorize the purchase of the refurbished Light Pack 12 from the AC power cable for $8,590, paid out of the equipment fund 102, and so amend the budget.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Gretner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fishnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christenberry?
Yes.
It wasn't so hard, was it?
Now you said that.
Thank you, Jason. Landfill financial assurance letter. This we do every year. All three counties support the landfill. So this isn't anything that's new and exciting, other than the fact that if the landfill closes, we're on the hook. But I will say, the landfill is well funded. What it is basically is the landfill needs to have funds available to maintain the landfill for 30 years after it closes. And they have significant funds to cover this already. All we're doing here is further supporting our financial commitment to the landfill.
It says we're on the hook. See, I looked at this and I saw the total cost estimate for closing. It says total closure and post-closure cost, $6,678,000. But then down below, it says, as of December 31st, the fiscal year for Oscoda County ends on December 31st. Oscoda County guarantees environmental obligations as follows: we have none. And then it says the amount of the financial responsibility for these other obligations is zero. So that means we're off the hook, doesn't it?
No.
Explain, please.
All three counties are responsible for that landfill for 30 years.
Okay.
And we have to maintain it, and we have to make sure that it's in compliance with the DEQ, the air quality people, and everything else.
So what does this mean when it says our obligations are none and our financial obligations are zero?
It means we don't have to put any money into it.
This letter is just guaranteeing
We
our
are just
promise.
saying that if the landfill defaults, we'll back them up. But right now, there's nothing, no commitment at this point. And the landfill has over $3 million in this account at this point for perpetual care.
Keep us soluble.
We're trying, over there.
I'll make the motion to include the county maintenance agreement with Harrison Management Data Backup and Recovery Solutions for an additional $900.
Wrong motion, sir.
What's this one?
That's next.
Both went out and skip yours. Oh, this one I tried to make earlier, you didn't want. So you shouldn't let me do that, I remember. I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the chief financial office letter in support of Montmorency, Oscoda, Alpena, South Waste authorization to present.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Now, Larry, if you would like to make this motion
Again,
on the county's maintenance agreement with Harris Manning?
Make Mark wants to.
Does this cover you, Bill?
Yes,
Is this part of your system?
this is our financials for the county.
Okay, all right.
We did discuss it with Dan Kaufman a little bit, because we had come to the board, Jerry and I, about 2 years ago in regards to the same thing, and they turned it down at that time. what this does is it takes our financials and backs them up into numerous places, so that if there's ever a catastrophe or something, we have numerous backups throughout the country, wherever, secured, so we don't lose our data.
Okay. We back them up here anyhow, though,
We
right?
back them up here daily, and
Do
Harris
we go,
has
do they
those
go
also.
anywhere, like to the cloud, or whatever they
That's
call
what
it?
this in effect would do, is probably back it up to the cloud, as well as some other secure locations. It would be numerous locations.
Okay.
Very cheap insurance.
Yeah, and, there's a cost to it, that's why we discussed it with Dan, and he came back and said he thought that it was a very good idea to do this, and he thought the cost was reasonable for what they were asking.
Now, is that backed up daily, or is that backed up hourly, or?
Daily.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to include in the county maintenance agreement with Harris Managed Data Backup and Recovery Solution for an additional $975 annually.
I'll support.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Kushnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Gretner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Claims and audit. Do we have it? I'll entertain a motion. Oh, you'd like to know how much?
I just wanted to know what the date was, September 9th. Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the claims and audits for September the 9th.
That's be for today.
For the 10th.
It's for
Okay,
today.
for today, September the 10th.
That's just when the report was written.
Okay, in the amount of $19,694.01.
Second.
I have a motion and support. Roll call.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Gretner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kushnick?
Yes. Correspondence, reports, and resolutions. One thing I would like to state to the board, we have been notified by the POLC of their impending labor contract negotiations. So I will ask each of you to review your contracts with the union contracts that we have, including the chemical workers. Those of you who don't know, the chemical workers have made petition to, the employees of the chemical union have made petition to eliminate the chemical workers' representation and go with the 23rd Circuit Court. That decision has not been made, but they have made the petition. If authorized, it won't take effect until January 1st, 2014. Also, I ask you to review the personnel policy and to get back with any of your suggestions for changes to Brenda so that she can formulate some kind of a document that we can refer to make any changes that we feel are necessary to our personnel policy. Email regarding the DHS youth mentoring contract. Brian Watrous talked with Cindy Pushman, and she advised that the mentoring grant, which gave Brian's department $11,000 towards our county's youth, has been terminated. He says, I will follow up with her to ensure we still receive proper credit for this year's 2012-2013. Because of my calculations, we are still due July through September. I was just informed. Oh, okay. So that's what you basically told me, is that they owe us July through September.
But we just did receive payment yesterday on February and June. So we should be good until then.
Says that, from Cindy Pushman, I'm writing to you regarding our phone conversation 9/5. I wanted to confirm that we will be terminating the youth mentoring contract for fiscal year 2013, 2014. You will be receiving an amendment terminating the contract. Unfortunately, we needed to make difficult cuts due to the large funding reduction. So what do we need to do further with this, other than
It's just
just
an
an
FYI.
All right. Committee reports. Mr. Berger.
On August 30th, Larry and I met with Liz, reference to Veterans Affairs. We are setting up the committees, bylaws, and eventually they're going to abolish the sailor and soldiers and put everybody together. So we're still working on that, and it's still progressing fast, and we should have that done. Is that by
Can't be done by the first.
October, right? Yes. Then on September 5th, we met with the prosecutor, the Veterans Affairs people, and she gave us some information about setting up some committees, the bylaws, the members, and giving monthly reports. And on the 9th, Monday, I just attended an MSCUG meeting up in Gaylord. Budget was still good. Sounds like now they're gonna try combining some of their programs with CMH down here, but it's gonna take like another year before they can get everything all put together. Then last night, I attended the youth program with Senator Hanrich, and we are working forward with this. We're getting the bylaws set up, getting a committee, and we're gonna start try to get with the Boy Scouts and a couple of the organizations if they can be able to sponsor us and go through all that, and we're slowly working on that.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
628 Steiner Museum, we had a regular meeting. We went over what we're setting up for the gun show, talked about a new director, received a resignation from Dwayne due to health reasons. 8:30, Bob already talked about when we met with Judge and that over Soldiers of Sellers. 8:31, the Steiner Gun Show was a good turnout, made a profit of about $1,100. 9/3, Cummings Township meeting. They talked about their pumpkin festival, they're getting a credit card, they talked about the MTA and stuff and basic stuff. 9/5, Bob talked again about the veterans with Liz and that, we went over. 9/6, Lee and I did the bills. 9/9, last night, MTA had a potluck dinner, and we had a short, brief meeting talking about tire disposal, which was put on hold till next year. That's it.
Thank you. On August 28th, Jerry Whitten, Mark Brantner, and myself met with Mike Strader, and all of you heard the outcome of that meeting. It was on MERS. On 9/9, I went to the Council on Aging. The new budget for 2013-2014 is being prepared, and while donations are down, the council is still on sound footing, thanks to good management. The new sign for the Council on Aging has arrived and will be installed pretty soon. I believe that was stated. This morning I attended the Road Commission meeting, advertising for 2 truck drivers. Those of you who know a mechanic that needs a good job, get it into the Road Commission. They are advertising in both newspapers of Ogama County, Oscoda County, and I believe Michigan Works also has the information on the positions that are open for 2 truck drivers and 1 mechanic. So If you know of anyone that would fit that criteria, those positions are open. And that's all I have for now.
On Friday, September the 6th, Mark and I went over to West Branch to a health department meeting. We met with the board to go over a new contract for the potential new hire for the health department officer. That afternoon, Larry and I went over the bills for the county. That's it.
Well, on August 28th, Jack went over our MERS meeting with Mike and Jerry, and on September 6th, I was at District Health Department number 2, and we discussed that. So that's mine.
Short, sweet, and simple today. Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comment today?
I'll go real quick. You knew I couldn't have a meeting without me saying something. Oh, that's right. You already had me up there already.
Thank you, Sheriff Grace.
All right, real quick. The end of October. Yeah, exactly. Start that way. The end of October, we have the Take Back Drug Day. Obviously, everybody knows we have the Red Barrel there. It's been working out very good. But again, I just want to encourage folks to, as a reminder, that October 26th is the DEA approved Take Back Drug Day, and that'll be the day that we'll be able to collect everything. And then usually on Sunday or Monday, generally Monday, they provide us a location that we can dispose of them. We take them to them, weigh it, and they record that. So that's coming up on October 26th, Saturday from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. But again, pretty much 24/7 you can still drop it off. But again, it's just another promotion that we're able to get rid of the medication once we've collected it during this time. So. And just real briefly there, just ask for thoughts and prayers for the fallen trooper that died yesterday down in Mason County. So again, I don't have much on the details or otherwise, but just thoughts and prayers for his family and all those involved in it. So
thank you. And we do offer our prayers and sympathy to the family.
Tragic deal. So.
Any other public comment? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.